Hi-do-ho, loverinos. It's a very special Valentine's Day edition of the Idaho Booze Podcast with me, Steve Kuntz. We are going to get into it today. That's right. Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum. Oh, baby. You are going to hate it. Also, we play a new game. Oh, getting a little rowdy here on the Idaho Booze Podcast. Innovative or intolerable. There's a new product out on the market for brewers, and we're going to decide if we like it or hate it. We're probably going to like it or hate it. One of the two. It's going to be great. And then, if that's not enough for you, Friday Night Pints, we're going to review a couple beers and a wine. And then a little bit of brew news in the close. So lots going on today on the very special Valentine's Day edition of the Idaho Booze Podcast with me, Steve Kuntz. Welcome back to the show. We're down here in my bar once again, and I'm going to make for you probably the most seductive cocktail that's ever been made in the history of life. This is going to 100% work for either if you're a man or a woman. This is going to work where it counts for tonight for Valentine's Day. This is our special Valentine's Day Warren Reserve cocktail of the week. This is called the Bubbly Blintzen. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your little shaker here. We have our Warren Reserve shaker, pretty sweet. And fill that bad boy up with ice. And we're going to add 1/2 ounce of huckleberry syrup, Warren Reserve huckleberry syrup. Like so. And then we're going to add 1.5 ounces, you can do 2 ounces, of gin. I chose Empress Gin because of its fancy purple, beautiful, gorgeous looking gin. So we're gonna do 1/2. I always like to use the side of the jigger that I just used so that I can get any extra syrup that's in there or whatever. So waste not, want not, folks. And then this is 1 ounce. We'll do 1.5 ounces of gin, Empress Gin if you have it. If not, regular gin will do just fine. And then we're going to do 1/2 ounce of raspberry liqueur. I got Grand Marnier here, as you can see. That is a raspberry liqueur, so we're going to do 1/2 ounce of that. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and shake that bad boy up. Shake, 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 shake it up, shake it up, and we'll just shake until it's like almost too cold on your hands. So you keep going until you're right about to get hypothermia, or what's that called? Frostbite. Boom, right there. Now, got a champagne glass here already chilling. Nice little trick there for you kids out there. Chill a champagne glass. It helps when you're having a drink in there in the champagne glass. It's nice. So you go ahead and you pour that into the champagne glass. Oh, look at that beautiful color. But Steve, it only goes up to 1/2 the glass. What the hell? How am I supposed to enjoy a cocktail that's only 1/2 the glass? Well, the secret ingredient for this one is bubbly. So you throw a little bit of champagne in there as a topper. And there you have it. It's the Bubbly Blintzen. Now, if you want to decorate this thing up right, go ahead and throw some raspberries in there, some rose petals. Make it look nice. And let's take a little taste. That's really good. The huckleberry syrup in there gives it a little bit of sweetness to offset the gin, and the raspberry liqueur in there is nice too. So I highly recommend you trying this one out tonight for Valentine's Day. This has been the Warren Reserve Cocktail of the Week. Cheers. This show is brought to you by Warren Reserve Cocktail Company. It's cold outside and winter is in the air, so why not make cocktails to celebrate a warm night inside? Stuck on what to make? Head to warrenreserve.com and click on recipes for a full list of amazing cocktails and mocktails you can make at home with delicious Warren Reserve Orange Bitters. With just a few dashes of Warren Reserve Orange Bitters, your champagne cocktail goes from so-so to let's go. Listeners to this podcast get 15% off any order, $40 or more, with promo code IdahoBooze25 at checkout. That's 15% off syrups and bitters. Just use the promo code IdahoBooze25 at warrenreserve.com and save money with Warren Reserve Cocktail Company. Welcome back to the Idaho Booze Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Kuntz. And before we get into this next topic, I just want to say real quick that this is not political. This is just economics. And we're talking about Trump's proposed tariffs to aluminum and steel. 25% across the board of all incoming aluminum or steel is his proposed tariff. Now, look, we know. This guy likes to rattle a cage. He likes to be loud and direct and everything. He's a big negotiator, whatever. So we know that this might just be temporary. He might just be doing this now to sort of set up a big win later when, who knows, Canada drops a price a quarter of a % or something like that. Who knows what's going on for real here? But for right now, the information that we have is President Trump wants to put 25% tariffs on all incoming steel and aluminum starting on March 12th. So just to let you know, if you think you know what you're talking about here, you might, but most of the aluminum and steel that is imported into the United States doesn't come from China. It doesn't come from Russia. It doesn't come from, any of our adversaries or anything like that. It comes from Canada, our neighbor to the north. Canada supplies most of the aluminum and steel to the United States. So it's not like we would be hurting, China or Russia or whoever he talked about getting tough with. It's not happening. It's just Canada. And it seems like more and more that he's cool with kind of bashing Canada, which doesn't make any sense to me. They're our neighbor to the north. They're our biggest trade partner. They're our best ally. They're a good neighbor. They keep everything clean up there. They're really nice. They have casinos. I mean, what else do you want from the Canadians? They do a great job up there. And basically the hard numbers on this, 25% on all incoming aluminum and steel starting March 12th. And this comes from the Brewers Association. So you can look that up on my show notes and check it out for yourself. As Aaron Rodgers likes to say, do your own research. And it looks like the U.S. imports more aluminum than any other country in the whole world. So we make some aluminum, but we import a hell of a lot more. And most of that comes from Canada. Like I said, aluminum cans right now account for 68.4% of packaged beer. So that's likely to go up to 75% in just the next year or so. So everybody loves cans. We all like cans. They're the easiest to recycle, the easiest to pack in, pack out, all that stuff. But, with a 25% tariff on them, it's not going to make anything cheaper. That's for sure. But I'll get to that later. Canada also supplies the most steel to the U.S., as I said before. Now, the steel tariffs won't just hurt breweries, wineries, cideries, distilleries. I mean, these are pretty much going to increase costs on just about every single sector of production in the U.S. economy. So we're talking about anything. Pretty much everything is either made from or with or using some type of steel or aluminum. It's just like steel is like the one thing that everyone kind of uses. Now, we all know that U.S. steel is the best. No doubt about that. No one is saying that it isn't. Everyone agrees with that. But man, 25% on something that we import a lot of, that's going to cost a lot of money. Now, let's talk about cans for a second. So aluminum cans are already pretty expensive and cost prohibitive, especially for smaller craft breweries. So it's really tough to buy aluminum cans if you're a small craft brewery because you have to buy a whole truck. And how much is a truck? It's like 75 pallets. So it's a jillion cans, literally a million cans. We talked about this with Chris in our Mother Earth discussion a couple weeks ago or a week ago, whenever it was. So cans are not only are they you have to buy a lot, but they're not cheap. They don't come cheap. You don't get a deal on them because only two companies, I think Crown and Ball, in the United States make them. So when you're talking about 68.4% of all packaged beer going into aluminum cans and 75% of all packaged beer going into aluminum cans by the end of the year, you're talking about a lot of money here. And, Trump likes to talk about why he's doing this, his tariff reasoning, his national security, whatever else. But really what he said, when I think he's sort of at least telling his version of what's going on, is that he's saying that we as a nation are getting screwed by Canada, I guess, because he sees it as more of like a land deal. So he sees money going out. He sees us paying money for steel. And them maybe not paying as much. But this is kind of how trade works. So like if you go across the street to your neighbor and they have apples and you have chickens and you want to trade, well now, I mean, if you trade eggs for apples, you're going to get a shit ton of apples, but you trade. So Canada sends some stuff our way. We send some stuff Canada's way. It kind of works itself out in the end. And our GDP is fine. Canada's GDP is fine. No one's, neither country is really losing in that trade. I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong. Now, when you're talking about a 25% tariff, so a tariff, a lot of people think is like a tax that is going to be put to the Canadians. Like the Canadians are just going to magically come up with 25% more and they're going to pay this off. Well, that's not how it works. In business, whenever you incur a cost, you go ahead and you put that cost down to the consumer, to the wholesaler, to the retailer, whatever it may be. Whoever you're selling to is who pays that tariff. So basically what's going to happen is Canada will get this 25% tariff on aluminum. And when they're shipping all those sheets of aluminum to Ball or Crown to make our cans, they're going to go ahead and slap 28% onto that. So they are covering their 25% tariff plus another 3%, just in case stuff happens, if something gets lost in shipping or whatever it is. So they're going to slap that on there. They're not going to care about that. And then what happens? Well, guess what? Crown or Ball, they turn around and make all those beautiful cans that we all like with our beer in them. And they're going to go ahead and slap the 28% on there. And they're going to probably wet their beak a little bit, slap another 5% on there. So that's 32%. So you're already up to a third more per can. And guess what's going to happen when breweries get that bill? Well, it's going to be 35% to us, the consumer. And right now, with 6-packs already at $10 or more, I mean, north of $10. When you think about some of the 4-packs, some of the hazy IPA, stuff like that, when you're talking $20-$25 for a 4-pack, I mean, now we're looking at 30 minimum for those, or probably 13, 14 for the ones that you just normally get your daily drinker. You go and get your 6-pack of First Sight IPA, and it's going to be $13. Why? Because our friends at Lost Grove have to pay more for each can. So instead of the cans being maybe 3 cents a piece, maybe now they're 3.5 cents or they're 4 cents. So that 4 cents adds up as you're talking about, that's almost a quarter per 6-pack. Then you're talking about lids as well. So that's going to be another probably 25 cents or whatever. So you're looking at 50 cents a 6-pack that they're incurring in cost before they even pour beer in it. So you got to kind of look at the long view here when people talk about these tariffs and taxes and stuff. And yeah, all those rich guys on TV, they don't give a shit. They're not buying 6-packs. But what about their wine? Oh, well, I'm glad you asked, because wine is more common now in a can as well. It doesn't account for nearly as much as beer, but it still is out there. There's still a lot of wine in cans. And also liquor. Those ready to drink drinks, those RTDs that we like to call them. There's Smirnoff ones. There's ones from other distilleries. Those all incur a cost too. All of those little espresso martini cans, all of those Moscow Mule cans, all of those Cutwater cans, all those things, that all goes up. And it's all going to go up by about, probably 10, 15%, something like that, maybe even 20%. As that cost gets filtered down to us, the consumer. So it's not going to be some guy in a top hat with a monocle paying for these tariffs in Canada. Or I guess he would be some guy with a top hat and a beaver skin pelt or something. I don't know what they do up there. Anyway, it's just a lot to kind of process when you talk about just the aluminum side of it. And the aluminum side of it is actually kind of the smaller side. So steel is the other thing that he wants to put a tariff on. So 25% on steel. So what does this mean for you? Steel is used in every aspect of production of beer, wine, cider, and liquor. I will tell you this. There are 2 things that every single brewery, winery, cidery, distillery have in common. 2 things that they will have, every single one the world over. My hand to God, coffee pot and a steel tank. Every single one. Coffee pot, steel tank. So now what you're talking about is more on kind of a bigger level, because when you buy fermenters or bright tanks or holding tanks or whatever, you're already paying a lot of money because you are going outside the country to get those a lot of times. Now, American steel is the best, as I've said. There's no doubt about it. American brewery steel in particular is the best. It's always great. It's welded up. It works right when you get it. I've had the opportunity to buy tanks from Canada and from China. And I'll tell you right now that those tanks come in and they're a little bit worse for wear sometimes. You have to do some light welding. You have to get someone in there to do some medical grade welding, which is a little heavier, a little bit more costly. But American tanks, usually if you get them like JV Northwest, somewhere like that, they're usually pretty good. Now, you have to... For a lot of local little tiny craft breweries, getting American steel is just not in the cards. It costs more. You have to wait at least 6 months, sometimes a year and a half. I remember when everything was kind of exploding. JV Northwest was a year and a half out for tanks. And so, we'd have to order them and hope that they would actually find time in their schedule to fit us in at some point before 18 months. Because you're trying to grow and you're trying to be bigger, you're trying to make more beer, you're trying to make more wine, trying to make more booze. So American steel, while the best, is just sometimes not an option if you have to wait 6 months to a year. I mean, if you can go and get it cheaper from Canada or from China, and then it comes in half the time, sometimes you just have to do that for your business. And again, we're talking about trade here. So steel goes out, steel comes in, or steel comes in from Canada or China or wherever. Something's going out. Like, we're hooking them up with something. Like, America has stuff that we send out. Fruit, grain, beef is actually a big thing that we send out. We love to send out beef because we have the best beef in the world, too. I mean, it's not even close. So, a lot of these things go out. A lot of them come in. So, okay, people, if you're watching this or listening to this, you're like, I don't give a shit about beer, wine, or cider or liquor. Well, first of all, why are you watching this? Why are you listening to this? This is a booze podcast. So we're talking booze. But guess what? There are a lot of other companies out there that you guys are using or your families are using that require steel tanks. Dairy, for one. Milk. Tons of steel. Juice. Tons of steel. Maltsters. So the grain, it's turned into malt. Tons of steel. Silos for grain. Steel. Cattle ranchers. All the gates. Everything else. Those are aluminum. Some of the warehouses, stuff like that, steel. Chicken farmers, already eggs are $7, $8, $9 a dozen, right? So chicken farmers, all that wire, that's steel wire, aluminum wire. Regular farmers, everything they use from pneumatic watering systems to, all of their little machines that they use and excavators, stuff like that, and the tractors, all that stuff. Steel. So 25% put on all that steel means that not just beer, wine, and booze, everything. Milk's going to go up more. Eggs go up more. Beef goes up more. It's kind of a cascading effect to get just a little bit of a win on a trade war that doesn't really exist. This show brought to you by Treasure Valley Chevron with locations on Highway 55 at Beacon Light and I-84 at Gowan Road. Treasure Valley Chevron is the perfect place to pick up supplies for a long weekend on the couch with an incredible selection of local wines, beers, and ready-to-drink cocktails, along with other supplies like firewood, propane, and all the snacks you can handle. Treasure Valley Chevron is the best spot to hit up before you get home. Take a picture of your latest TVC haul, email it to us at idahoboozepod@gmail.com, and you could win a giant box of beef jerky from Treasure Valley Chevron. Welcome back to the show. I'm Steve Kuntz, and we're going to get into a new game that I came up with just recently. This is called Innovative or Intolerable. And maybe at some point we'll have a little jingle with some graphics that bounce around the screen. Maybe. Who knows? Anyway, this thing I found is called Flava Malt. Brought to us by Flavor Flav from Public Enemy. No. This is brought to us from Proximity Malt. It's Flava Malt. It's spelled just like Flava Flav. Flava Malt. Natural plated malt flavors. So this is instead of, I guess the deal here is, instead of adding, say, pineapple or mango or, whatever fruit puree you're using in your beer, you would add this Flava Malt, and you can get it in a variety of flavors. They have chocolate, they have mango, pineapple, ripe raspberry, nice, lime, and lemon. So they got all this flava malt. And the flava malt is made from wheat. It's derived from a wheat malt. And it's designed to infuse flavors and aromas of these things, pineapple and mango and lemon and whatever else, into your beer without using these awful, they always do this, right? Without using these awful juices and purees. Ugh, who wants natural juices and purees? Purees, I think. Did I say that wrong? Who wants that? When you can have flava malt. This is, you add it post-fermentation, similar to when you would dry hop, and you substitute it for purees and concentrates, like I said. So you're going to add less volume to it. So you're going to get, I guess, less runoff. So you'll get more yield, I assume. I don't know. So you put it in there, it dissolves for 24 hours and ensure that flavor permeates throughout the fermentation tank. And then you rack it off when you purge the yeast. This is a streamlined thing. It says that you can proceed with your usual filtration and packaging methods, and that it, now without the skins and seeds of those dreaded purees and concentrates, you can add the flavor to your beer without adding any of that juice stuff or natural stuff, whatever. So this thing immediately to me reads intolerable. Immediately. Like I saw this and I immediately thought this is disgusting. And then I got to thinking about it a little bit more and I thought, well, it's not that bad. It's made from wheat malt, which is good. Farmers are having a tough time right now with wheat and with getting rid of it. So it's nice to have another thing that Proximity Malt here that's made with wheat. A lot of brewers are also getting away from wheat. It's just not as popular as it used to be. So, is this innovative? Let's take a look. I mean, it's uniform. So from batch to batch, you're going to get the same thing. If you make say Maui falls for this, if they go get this flava malt, they can make the pineapple manna, their pineapple wheat beer, consistent every single time. They get pineapple, the same wheat every time. So it's super consistent. It dissolves into the fermentation tank, so you don't have any of those. It's true. I mean, I remember one time we did a pumpkin beer at one of the breweries I worked at, and it gummed up everything. Like that pumpkin got everywhere. So, maybe not having the real fruit there means less cleanup. Now, when you purge it through the yeast, when you get it through the cone and purge it with the yeast, can you still use that yeast, or is that yeast now flavored? That's a question. Is it flavored? I don't know. No one wants pineapple yeast. That's not good for an IPA. You don't want lemon yeast. It's just not what you want. So we like wheat. We like that it's uniform batch to batch. It's relatively cheap. Let's see. If you get a 1 pound pack of the, let's say, mango. There's also chocolate, which is kind of cool. There's already chocolate malt, by the way, but I digress. Mango. So if you get a 1 pound pack, which is what they say you need for, I think, a 10 barrel batch. Doesn't say. Anyway, say you need a 1 pound bag for 10 barrels and you're brewing 10 barrels or for 15 barrels or whatever it is. So this one is $175. And as far as I remember, getting concentrate and stuff like that does cost, some money. You have to get like giant jugs of it and you have to, buy that. So I don't know how much a giant jug of, let's say, mango costs. Well, let's Google it. Well, what do you say? Google it. Mango puree for brewing. Okay, fruit for brewing. This is a company here that makes fruit for brewing. Let's see. You can get free samples. They do like giving out free samples. Okay, so I don't know how much you need, but let's see. Oh, you probably need a bucket. So there's 440 pounds in a bucket. Okay, so the 40, that's pink mango. Here we go. So a 44-pound bucket of mango, which I assume is enough for one or two, I mean, at least probably 30 barrels of beer, I would assume. Maybe more, maybe less. I don't know. That's something else we can Google. How much mango puree in 10 barrels of beer? Let's see, Gemini's going to tell us. Okay, so yeah, you get 1 to 200. So let's say 200. We could even say 100. $830. If you're doing, it's 440 pounds. So say you do 110 or whatever, 110 pounds. There's some spillage there. 100 pounds. Say 100 pounds. So each one of those is going to be right around $200, right? Yeah. So the flavor malt is only $175. I mean, you're saving $25, I guess, right off the top there. Maybe even more, maybe $35. So you're saving a little bit of money by going with the flavor malt, which, I'm not against. All for that. I don't know that you're getting, the kind of flavor you would get from the mango puree, but there is less cleanup and you're getting uniform. It's uniform every time, which I think a lot of brewers would really like. And it's something I'll tell you, like the first thing I thought of when I saw this was, oh, okay, that's cool. So I assume that but Pete's Wicked Ale was making strawberry blonde forever. And that was the same every time. So there must be something, if you have a supplier, whatever it is, you usually get uniform. So I like it. It's cheaper. It's made from wheat. It's done in a day. So you don't have to put it in on the hot side. You put it in the cold side. And wheat is a great vehicle for flavor additives. It's pretty cheap. And there's abundance of it right now. So we're keeping farmers busy, which is good. So the innovative is kind of catching up to me here on the intolerable. Now, here's the thing. Here's the one thing. The one thing we talk about when we're talking about a uniform batch of beer with this flavor malt is that am I getting the same mango as Bud when they buy mango for Mango Cart for their brewery in LA? Am I getting the same mango or the same pineapple as Maui's getting? Am I getting that same? Is it the same all the way across? Because if it is, that's going to be a turnoff for me because I want my pineapple or whatever, or my lemon beer, or whatever I'm making to taste like my lemon beer or my mango beer. I don't really want to taste like everybody else's mango beer. So if everybody has the same mango beer, then why wouldn't we just all buy Mango Cart instead of coming and buying my mango beer? You know what I mean? So it's uniform. It being uniform is the best part about it, but also the worst part because now everybody has access to the same flavoring and the same thing and the same sort of flavor that you're going to get from this thing. So I don't like that. I don't like that it comes out in the yeast purge because that's a really important thing to keep going. You don't want to buy new every time you make this fruited beer that you're going to make a lot of because you're buying flavor malt. You don't want to have to buy new yeast every time you make a new one. And I feel like you're going to have to because that yeast is going to get weird. And there's going to be a weird mango yeast flavor that's going to come with that yeast. And that's going to be mixed with the new flavor malt. And that's going to create a weird, sort of Frankenstein's monster of bad flavor. So I don't like, where that is. In summation, we like how easy it is, Flavor Malt. We like how easy it is. We love the name, mostly because it reminds us of Flavor Flav, which we love. And we love that it dissolves in 24 hours. These are all great things. We don't like that. Oh, and we like uniformity, that our beer is going to taste the same every time. Now, we don't like that other people's beer is going to taste just like ours every time, which we don't want. And we don't like that this is going to come out in the yeast and we're possibly going to have to dump that yeast every time we use the flavor malt. And we don't like that it just seems like it's a little weird. It just seems like it's a little strange. It's just a strange thing to not want to use natural ingredients when you're making a beer. And I think most brewers would be turned off by that. So my taste buds are saying intolerable. My brain is saying innovative. Whew. Now here's something, flavor malt, proximity. If I can call you flavor. Can we send you the fruit puree that we use? I have a hard time with that word, puree. Fruit puree that we use. Can we send you the one that we use? And will you use that in flavor malt? So, if we're making huckleberry here in Idaho, because we love huckleberries and we love making beers and everything else with huckleberries, what if I sent you a 1 pound sack of huckleberries and you took that 1 pound sack and was able to make us a flavor malt, a special flavor malt with that 1 pound sack of huckleberries? That's not a bad idea. That could work. Now we're using a natural ingredient along with your innovative ingredient to sort of create a Frankenstein's bride sort of situation. So a prettier version of what you originally had. And we're getting to use our natural ingredient. We can say that it's derived from natural ingredients instead of whatever this stuff is derived from. And we can move forward with our marketing it as a huckleberry beer instead of a Flavor Malt pineapple beer that tastes just like pineapple manna from Maui, which actually wouldn't be too bad. So if we use the Idaho huckleberry, we can make a huckleberry wheat beer. And if that's the case, I'm in. Flavor Malt, proximity, flavor. I'm in. If we can do it that way, then let's fucking do it. I love it. But if I'm stuck with the same flavor over and over again that everybody else is getting, then I'm afraid that's intolerable. The Idaho Booze Podcast is brought to you by Boise Beer Buddies. Dry January is over, and it's time to get back in touch with your friends at the local watering hole. Don't be fazed by those pint prices. Be a buddy and get a Boise Beer Buddies card to save money on beers all around the Gem State. With the Boise Beer Buddies app, you can plan your night around saving big on all the porters, stouts, and IPAs you could ever want. Don't have a card? No problem. Buy one card, get one free with promo code BOOZEPOD at checkout. Now you and a buddy can save big bucks on those beers with Boise Beer Buddies. Welcome back to the Idaho Booze Podcast. I'm Steve Kuntz, and we are doing some Friday night pints today. Got a couple of new things. I want to thank Megan and Chris at the Co-op in Meridian for turning me on to a couple of new things. They have some interesting programs going on over there at the Co-op. If you haven't heard, they're getting some new beers in from Portland and kind of the Portland area. I guess they're having, I don't know if it's an undercover operation or if it's some kind of, they're hiding it in the back of a van. I don't know what's going on, but they're getting beers from Threshold in Portland. They're also getting beers from Trapdoor in Vancouver, Washington. So a couple of cool new breweries going on over there, and I'll have reviews of a couple of their beers for you all next week. And they also have a new Breakside over there, Thriving Metropolis IPA, which I will try post-haste and make sure you guys know what that thing tastes like. And then they have another one, Fat Orange Cat is the brewery, the beer, Baby Kittens IPA. And that will be another one I will have possibly next week. For this week, we have a couple here. I got Bochi Bochi. This is a returning champion from Crux. This is a Japanese light lager, a rice lager, if you would. It says it's brewed with whole Calrose rice and some malt and some hops. I tell you what, it's not bad. As far as Japanese lagers go, there are a couple that I really like. New Aikido is one that's really tasty. And this one, and Asahi, obviously, is kind of the standard. This one, maybe a little funky. It has a little bit of that kind of Pilsner funk. And I don't know, it's good. It's a good beer, but it's not like my favorite. But it's, it's a nice little rice lager. And Crux always does a good job. So maybe got a can that was off or something. But give it a try if you see it out there. This one, Fremont, new Head Full of Dynamite. This one just came out. It's kind of orange and blue. This one I've found to be really tasty. And these are the hazy IPAs from Fremont. They come out with a new one about every couple months or so. This one, let's see if I can see what it was brewed with. It does not say. But that's okay. You can go to the website and check it out. I would say pretty orangey, this one. Lots of good orange zest qualities to it. A little bit of pineapple. They all kind of all share these same sort of, it has the same malt bill every time. So you're always going to get that same kind of little bit of cracker, a little bit of haze. Really nice little beer here. Orange zest kind of came out to the forefront with a little bit of lime, maybe some grapefruit in there as well. So we'll have to check out what the hops were in that beer and see what's going on with this new Head Full of Dynamite from Fremont. You can try that. That's out in 4-packs wherever you buy Fremont beers. I think it's 6.8%, something like that. And then last, but certainly not least, is Split Rail. This was a Chris pick from the Co-op. Nice job, Chris. Megan actually picked out that Bochi Bochi, so thanks a lot, Megan. This one is their Horned Beast. And I specifically asked for this one because we just had Will from Veer on the other week, and his GSM Tresse was really, really good. So I was like, no, let's try another one of those. So this is a GSM Grenache Syrah Mourvèdre, and it's got a lot of awesome flavor in there. A lot of raspberry, some blueberry. It's just a really nice wine. Very bright and flavorful. Finishes nice and clean. Doesn't finish with a lot of extra sweetness or anything like that. A little bit of pepper in there from the Syrah, but mostly you just get like raspberry, blueberry, and a really nice like red wine. A really tasty red wine from Split Rail. And this one comes with a little wax top on top. I think it was pink. So if you're looking for something for Valentine's Day, boom, Horn Beast. Check it out from Split Rail. That's going to do it for Friday Night Pints on this edition of the show. We're going to come right back with, we're going to do a little brew news coming back, and then we're going to close out the show right after this. This show is brought to you by Warren Reserve Cocktail Company. It's cold outside and winter is in the air, so why not make cocktails to celebrate a warm night inside? Stuck on what to make? Head to warrenreserve.com and click on recipes for a full list of amazing cocktails and mocktails you can make at home with delicious Warren Reserve orange bitters. Try Blitzen's Bubbly to help set the mood. With just a few dashes of Warren Reserve orange bitters, your champagne cocktail goes from so-so to let's go. Listeners to this podcast get 15% off any order, $40 or more, with promo code IdahoBooze25 at checkout. That's 15% off syrups and bitters. Just use the promo code IdahoBooze25 at warrenreserve.com and save money with Warren Reserve Cocktail Company. Welcome back to the Idaho Booze Podcast. We had a lot going on. I was looking through my social medias and I discovered there's a lot happening. So let's get the stuff out there and see if it helps you guys out at all. First of all, I want to wish a happy 9th anniversary and a Valentine's Day to Merriweather Cider Company and to the whole Ledbetter family. You've got Gig, you've got Molly, you've got Kate, and you've got Ann. The whole family. Happy 9th anniversary to you guys. You guys have brought a lot of flavor, a lot of fun, and I think a new attitude towards cider to the Treasure Valley and to Idaho in general. Very important cidery, I think. There were some other ones that opened when you guys did. They're not around anymore. You guys are around. Great job. 9 years. Unbelievable. Just a nice little clap there. Now you can check if you want to learn more about Merriweather Cider. Molly was on the show back in episode 13. So go check that out. You can listen to that on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Substack, anywhere you get fine pods. Gem State. We had some snow yesterday down here in the Treasure Valley, and Gem State closed up to avoid people coming in. I think it was just because the roads were kind of messed up. So Gem State closed yesterday so as not to encourage people to head out. Well, they're back open today, so get over there and hit them up. Go have, I'm sure they have some new beer on this week. They have a new beer on pretty much every Friday, so make sure to go check out Gem State in Eagle. Brownbeard, their treasure hunt continues with the second coin release today. This coin is pretty dope looking, has the skull and crossbones on there. And remember, there's a bunch of prize opportunities for you. I think if you go there on a Wednesday and you buy a beer, you get a coin, and then you can bring that coin back anytime during the week to get a free beer. And if you get the golden coin, which is very Willy Wonka-y, you get a chance to win in a raffle or something. I can't remember. Go back to the Brownbeard episode a couple episodes ago and check out Bryce. He'll tell you all about it in that. And Lost Grove in Hyde Park. The Lost Grove in Hyde Park opening its new indoor patio. That looks really cool. Check that out down in Hyde Park in Boise, North End. And Loose Screw is happy to announce. I got this text from Mike the other day. All of its beers on tap in downtown Meridian at their new place are brewed on its new system. So they're really happy about that. They spent a lot of money to get that new system in. It's a beautiful new system, really cool. A lot of nice, stainless steel, what we were talking about. They got in under the gun and got their stainless before all this wackiness happens. So go check out Loose Screw and their new beers from their new system. I will try to make it down there, if not this weekend, then next week for sure. Sorry, guys, I didn't hit you up this week. Meant to, didn't get to it. Thanks to our friends at Up North Distillery for sharing the pod. Really appreciate that. Still need to get some of that honey whiskey if you guys are listening up there in Post Falls. Staying in the Panhandle, get on out to Pour Company Moscow this weekend. The owners, Kim and Stefan, are going to be pouring you a beer. I guess they're going to be bartending, their head bartenders out Probably, if I had to guess, on a Amazonian expedition. If I had to guess, that's what I think that the bartender is doing. I don't know for sure, but that's what I would guess. And so Paige and Stefan and Kim are going to be in there, and they say that anything can happen. So maybe they'll put on like a special beer, or they'll put on a couple kegs that are really cool, or whatever is going to happen. Be at the Pour Company in Moscow. You don't want to miss out on that. Hey, happy anniversary to Parcero Wine Bar. Love that place. Liana and Mark, congrats. 1 year in Garden City. Way to go. Speaking of Garden City, the new Bardenay opened up last week. Cannot wait to visit that location. Holy crap, Garden City. This is might be my new favorite part of town. Geez, you got the Stagecoach. Classic. Right next to that is Bardenay, right next door. And then if you go a couple doors down from Bardenay, you got yourself Split Rail. And these guys that made this thing, it's really good. Then if you just go right down the block, you got Barbarian right there. And then, wouldn't you know it, Talaya Wine Company, Talaya Winery right there as well. So lots of awesome stuff just right in that same little area. But parking is tricky. So be careful when you're parking down there because there's a lot of like warnings and signs and stuff. Barbarian, speaking of which, they are postponing their Valentine's Day because of the snow. Check their social medias to see any updates on that one. More in Garden City. My goodness, Garden City, you are representing today. It looks like Alliteration Ales and Powder House have collaborated on an Irish red called Remember. So I guess the alliterations are starting to run kind of dry out there. And that beer drops today at Powder House. Thanks to everyone who went out. This is from our friends at IBU. Thanks to everyone who went out to Destination Beer in McCall a couple weekends ago. I'm told it was awesome. I didn't get a chance to go up there for that weekend, but I'm told it was really fun. And I wouldn't doubt it. That's a fun event. We want to we're getting to thank yous now. Thanks to everyone out there for listening. Thanks to Warren Reserve Cocktail Company. Really appreciate you guys. Be sure to use the promo code IdahoBooze25 at checkout at warrenreserve.com. You get 15% off when you spend $40, which is like 2 things of bitters. So you want to get that 15% off. Use the code IdahoBooze25 at checkout at warrenreserve.com. Send in your Warren Reserve Cocktail of the Week submissions to idahoboozepod at gmail.com. Just send them in and you'll win a free prize pack, or you could, if we use your submission, you win a free prize pack from Warren Reserve valued at around $25. It's a little box of bitters that we have right now. So go ahead and send in those to idahoboozepod at gmail.com. Give us those Cocktail of the Week submissions. And what better way to say I love you than with a Boise Beer Buddies membership. Use promo code BOOZEPOD at checkout at boisebeerbuddies.com to get 2-for-1 memberships there. Email us your latest haul from Treasure Valley Chevron, and you could win a big box of beef jerky. So email that into idahoboozepod at gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. But we need more subscriptions. Let's see them. More subscriptions, more downloads. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pods, Substack, probably the best way to go to keep up with the show. If you haven't already, please listen to that Mother Earth episode. Ooh, just a big old beer nerd bro down with me and Chris Baker. Awesome episode. Check it out. Mother Earth last week. We really got into it. Email the show at idahoboozepod at gmail.com. Just say hi or write me a new one. Whatever it is, send an email. That's going to do it, my little love muffins. Be sure to catch me on the TV Tan podcast. It was about a week ago. And have a very lovely and very romantic Valentine's Day. Good day and great romance, everybody.